welcome to Pop Culture Maniacs podcast. Today is me, Kieran, and with me is Jean, as usual, our TV editor, and we'll be talking about the mess that is going on at Warner Brothers Discovery. So, Jean, welcome.
Thank you.
So yes, it's a shit show, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah. So I think, well, obviously, if you're listening, you probably have an inkling of what's going on. But yeah, but just to give you a quick recap. So since Warner Brothers is now being run by the Discovery people with David Zaslav as their new CEO. He has made some very controversial decisions, such as cancelling projects, rumours that HBO Max will be rolled up with Discovery Plus, and in a bid to save $3 billion in cash, the company's lost $20 billion in value. So yeah, it's not looking good.
No, it is not looking good.
So, I think there's the news really started breaking when it was the news of the Batgirl movie getting canned, as well as other projects like Scoob also getting canned, but most of the attention went to Batgirl.
Yeah, once the news dropped that Batgirl was going to be a tax write-off, and then from there it kind of snowballed into the HBO Max back catalog suddenly losing various TV shows, various films, and then the co-creators of those shows and films freaking out because they hadn't heard any of this happening, and it kind of grew to a fever pitch before the big HBO Discovery, Warner Brothers new head of content meeting, where they only made things worse by breaking down what kind of things men and women like about HBO Max shows, which was particularly enlightening. And they haven't quite rebounded at all from there, frankly.
Yeah. I think the most recent one at the time of recording is Final Space, the animated series has been cancelled, and as you can imagine, the creator of that show posted on his Twitter about it, and obviously you can imagine he was very hurt by the decision, and to show how bad it's gone, obviously being pulled off HBO Max. Once the license is finished with Netflix, it'll be lost. It won't be on Netflix internationally. I'm assuming that's more of a case of Warner Brothers not wanting to renew it, not Netflix. The DVD sales have stopped, and if you had brought the show digitally, it has been taken off of you now. So yeah, money well spent.
Yeah, and it circles back to a bigger issue that we've talked about before, which is the idea of content on streaming things only exists as long as the streaming service wants to let it exist.
Yeah, and it's sort of like pretty much like the modern day equivalent of raising tapes back in, because obviously a lot of the TV shows in the 60s, particularly Doctor Who, they would just the old assumption was it will only ever be seen once, then they just erase the tape. At least the excuse there is they didn't foresee what was coming. This is just callous, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely callous, because I'm not sure if it was that creator, but I remember seeing a tweet from one of them saying they don't even have a hard copy of the show, and to get a hard copy they had to practically beg to get one because they wanted to at least have it.
It's just nasty. So I think this is obviously, whilst it might seem like a short-term win for Warner Brothers in saving money. In the long term, this is going to be really damaging, because no creator worth their salt is going to want to work with them. Yeah, because obviously creators want to get a paycheck, but they also want their stuff to be seen as well.
Yeah, and up to this point, speaking from a television perspective, HBO, who's of course owned under the same as Warner Brothers and Discovery, was kind of the Cadillac of networks. That was where you wanted your show to go if you wanted to be considered, a prestige drama or a huge big show with a lot of money behind it to push you. And in light of this idea that they can just kind of cut you off at the knees and take what you created for them and never let it see the light of day, that's incredibly damaging to the sheen that was on HBO.
Exactly. And as you said there, HBO's got has the name recognition, which was obviously, some of the rumors had been that that Warner Brothers were going to just close out HBO Max, and then they'll move everything to Discovery Plus, which just sounds like insanity, because I think HBO's got more brand recognition, it's got more prestige to it. Whilst David Zaslav, he's from a reality TV background. He worked on the Learning Channel and did big commission like the Honey Boo Boo shows and the my £600 Life.
Yeah,
not
and
exactly
every single version of Discovery it's reality shows tend to be trash, and or you find out horrific things about the people who participated in them 5 years down the line.
Yeah,
and it's night and day between that and a prestige drama on HBO.
and it's just all because if it's the case of a corporate takeover, when a new CEO comes in, they just sort of see what the other person's doing and go, right, cancelling that, we're doing our own stuff. But this is obviously going one step beyond.
Yeah, and when it comes to television too, it's like you said, it's old hat to have a new head of network programming come in, cancel a bunch of shows that he didn't like because he didn't greenlight them, and then try to install the shows he likes. But in this case, you're taking, arguably the most prestigious name in television entertainment and looking like you're going to change things. And, sure, HBO has had a lot of competition from other networks and streaming sites as of late, but it's still HBO. You can't just go in and turn it into, TLC with, 90 Day Fiance or whatever.
Yeah, and you're thinking, even when HBO did do something more reality based, it was usually a prestigious documentary. So I think you have, because didn't they do one of their first big documentaries? Wasn't that about people had to work as prostitutes?
Yeah, they have or they used to. They haven't really done it too much lately, but they had an incredibly robust and respected documentary film making section of HBO back in the early days.
Yeah. I was going back to sort of the creator point, because Warner Brothers used to be the studio that was respected by filmmakers. They were the ones that filmmakers wanted to work for because they had a lot more freedom. Obviously, Christopher Nolan was their golden goose, and obviously after the whole debacle with Tenet, and then obviously when it was under Warner Brothers AT&T, their decision to simultaneously release films in cinemas and on HBO Max at the same time, which was the straw that broke the camel's back involving their relationship with Nolan.
Yeah, and they had a rough go of it, obviously, with the pandemic, and every major motion picture studio did. But for a studio as old and as storied as Warner Brothers to be taking this route, it's interesting to me that, a lot of it I think comes back to the idea that, particularly in the film space now, IP is so important, and Warner Brothers IP in theory should be incredibly strong. with DC and with, you know, the Warner Brothers cartoons, and you've got all this back catalog, and they're just not as successful as somebody like Disney.
Yeah.
And that's interesting to me. Like, how is that impacting their decisions now?
Well, it's raised a good point, because obviously the Warner Brothers have not been handling their DC properties too well, and obviously you got big decisions involving two of their projects, Aquaman 2 and the Flash movie, because obviously you got the whole Amber Heard debacle with Aquaman 2, and then the Flash. Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, they bet on some horses that didn't come in, apparently. But yeah, I mean, on paper, they should be rolling in money, be doing great, have the financials to continue financing smaller, more interesting projects. But right now, like, the only major thing that, as of right now, doesn't look like it's falling apart is the Dune sequel.
Oh yes, a million. I stand up. I go against the grain here. I wasn't a fan of Dune, but obviously a lot of people were. But then,
Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah,
like their big money maker they got on their schedule for the next couple of years, and that's troubling that they don't have more, that they haven't branched out beyond the DC superheroes, that they haven't just decided to throw everything out and reboot it the correct way. I don't know what the answer is, but
I know. I think the idea that Flash was meant to be be a way to do a continuity reset, but because of Ezra Miller's and problematic behavior. Yeah,
yeah.
I think with Aquaman, it could be, obviously the rumors are that they're trying to cut Amber Heard's part down to a bare minimum. What I think, if say news involved, like Johnny Depp got a big offer, got to make Pirates of the Caribbean 6 or something, I think people might be more willing to give Aquaman a go, and as long as it's under the understanding that Amber Heard doesn't return.
But even that, you know, I mean, Johnny Depp arguably helped torpedo, with other help from other people, of course, you know, that Fantastic Beasts Harry Potter thing. So it's just everything they've bet on has just fallen apart, and they don't seem to have anything else in their back pocket to pull out. That's particularly troubling. They haven't thought far enough down beyond superheroes, wizards, and, you know, Christopher Nolan, and they can't figure out where to go from here.
Yeah. Thinking like because the Space Jam sequel, which to me was the worst,
Oh gosh.
the worst film of 2021, it was pretty much a giant advert for HBO Max, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. And I think they also, I mean, the first Space Jam, I remember watching that as a child in the theater and still thinking, I love Michael Jordan, but really? It's just, I can't believe they made a second one. Like, it's just, ugh. Here's all the IP we own that we're not doing anything with. Let's stuff it all in a movie and see what happens.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, who was the film aimed for? You had like big sequences involving Mad Max and The Matrix, and you think, yeah, your 8-year-olds are really going to be interested in those projects.
Yeah, we'll throw everything at the wall, see what people respond to, and then we'll make a movie out of it. Why not?
Yeah. I think that obviously with hearing some of the rumors, like obviously hate that Warner Brothers are in a lot of debt as well. One figure I read is 55 billion, but I can't. Surely that's like bankruptcy level if it's that big of debt.
And I would have thought that in the purchase, they would have restructured it somehow.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, and hence all these tax write-offs. Because when I say it's lost 20 billion in value at the stock market, it's because what they're trying to do is save money so they have more cash available, like because they're in such dire straits that they've only got one more major film left this year, being Black Adam, and essentially here's The Rock in a DC film.
Yeah, here's The Rock. Hopefully he's magic again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me. It's crazy that it could have gotten to this point. It's crazy that they think selling off properties as tax write-offs is going to be the answer, because I mean, I'm not a business person, but even I know that that's not going to solve all the problems. It goes much deeper, to a much deeper level, and they got to figure out what their identity is. And when they have as much as they have, why can't they figure something out? That's the crazy thing to me.
These are short-term decisions that will probably have massive ramifications in the long term. It might save money now, but obviously they've broken consumer trust, as well as trust with the people that they would work with.
Yeah, and I mean, the cynic in me just keeps thinking, oh, they're just gonna keep the studio warm until Disney comes in and buys it, because that's what's gonna happen to everybody, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, I think it's the Universal that would the likely contenders to buy Warner Brothers, though. So you can imagine
that would be interesting.
I was going to say, we can imagine a lot of fanboys would be cheering on Disney to buy it, just because they don't care about monopolization. They just want to see DC and Marvel have a slobber knocker.
Well, we all know that monopolies aren't real, and you can do whatever you want in American business these days. So I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Do I detect a slight hint of sarcasm?
Just a tad.
Yeah. I would say this, though. I think there are some decisions I do agree with. First is the sort of Zavlov is trying to pivot more to making theatrical films again, because I think it was a loss-making venture just to make films for HBO Max or doing the simultaneous releasing. And I think this year's box office shows that because the biggest film of the year so far is Top Gun Maverick, and we're getting back to more normal box office numbers, pre-pandemic style box office numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is it's a bit of Schadenfreude, but it was a bad idea. They closed down CNN Plus within a month, didn't they?
Yeah, there's no reason to even have CNN Plus. It's fine.
Yeah.
The last thing we need is more news.
Yeah. Depressing enough as it is. But
oh yeah.
I was thinking, surely, if it's the documentary side, just put it on HBO Max.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of someone who spends an awful lot of time on streaming sites, the HBO Max streaming site is far and away the best out of all of them. It's the easiest to use. It's the least complicated. It's got the most user-friendly interface. Just put everything there. It's perfectly fine. Don't reinvent the wheel. You have one really good thing. Just keep it.
Yeah. I would say this, though, because HBO Max, though, hasn't launched all over the world, because in countries that have Sky, they have a deal with Sky that their shows would go on like Sky Channel. So hence that's why HBO has never launched in the UK, Ireland, Germany, or Italy at the moment. And those are some pretty big markets.
Oh yeah, that's a huge chunk of the European market right there.
Yeah. So, and obviously as again we've talked about this one, the streaming crunch, and you obviously in one of our previous podcasts, the surprise that Netflix is in trouble, but I think that the news on that has died down, and now like a lot of the predictions were that HBO would be one of the survivors.
Yeah. I mean, I still think HBO Max isn't going anywhere. I can't see them discontinuing it. And Netflix is still absolutely in trouble now that they've basically said they don't want to create, your mid-market films for Netflix anymore. And then we also have Hulu they haven't announced it, but the general consensus is getting swept into Disney Plus at some point by the end of the year either, or early first quarter next year. So things are still moving, but I mean, when you buy Warner Brothers and you get HBO as part of the deal, I mean, they're never going to shut down HBO as an entity. It's too important to their identity. But
I was going to say it's the premium cable channel by itself, and obviously.
Yeah, I mean, but also you look on the flip side, and here in the States, there were essentially two premium cable channels at the beginning. It was HBO and Showtime, and Paramount has announced that they're going to roll Showtime into Paramount Plus and get rid of the channel itself. So things are changing, things are moving. So what HBO looks like a year from now could be very different than what it looks like today.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who doesn't have cable and only lives in my various streaming apps, doesn't bug me. But I know for a lot of people who do have Showtime, you're going to have to figure out a new way to get it.
Because you certainly would say that slightly older audiences that still watch traditional TV the traditional way, they would be annoyed.
Yeah, and I suspect a lot of people are going to be shocked when they don't have it anymore. Paramount, though, has its own problems that it's working its way through, though. So
yeah, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I think there will be a streaming crunch, and services are just going to shut down, and it just be more economical just to sell off their properties to other license their properties to other streaming services.
Yeah, and I think Paramount Plus is going to be one of the key ones to watch in that, because they've already started moving more highbrow, racier shows off of CBS, the network, and making them only on Paramount Plus. With the show The Good Fight and Evil, they made them Paramount Plus exclusives, and they've done well for the streaming site. But on the flip side, the buzz has been lower, and so that's the question of how much can CBS survive as a network here in the States when it has one of the largest, most popular TV shows currently airing on it? But then, what's the trade-off and how does this work? So it's going to be interesting to see how that changes over time.
Yeah.
Does does Warner Brothers really only have Black Adam left as their only movie this year? That's crazy.
Yeah, I believe that certainly their last major release, because the other one was Don't Worry, Darlings. But
and that went so well.
Yes, well, I think it's like watching a car crash in slow motion involving its marketing campaign.
And that's a perfect example of really great idea, poor execution.
Yeah.
On every level.
Yeah, I think as Olivia Wilde torched her directing career before it's really started.
Yeah. Oh, at least Florence Pugh came out looking wonderful.
Yes. Though I think the thing with her is because she showed her displeasure by doing the bare minimum involving marketing, because she's usually quite enthusiastic about marketing the films.
Well, she's gonna be fine, and that's what matters, because she's
going back to our Christopher Nolan point, because she's going to be in the Oppenheimer film as well.
She's in everything. She's in that. She's got Thunderbolt. She's got Dune 2. She's going to be everywhere.
Yes. Oh, and Puss in Boots. She's voicing the character.
She's going to be in Puss in Boots. Love it.
Yes. Oh, just another point. Warner Brothers is the big cash cow has been Batman. They commissioned an animated series with Matt Reeves as the director of The Batman and J.J. Abrams as executive producers. Then that's not going on the HBO Max, and it's now being shopped around to other networks.
That's such a waste.
I know. Batman's usually a slam dunk for Warner Brothers.
And they also have the really well-regarded Harley Quinn series. So it'd be a great pairing to have both of those together.
Yeah. I'm assuming with Matt Reeves involvement, it would have been a more adult show if it was sort of loosely connected with the recent film.
Right. And so it'd be perfect with Harley Quinn. Like they'd be the perfect 1-2 animated thing. Like here's your DC superheroes in a better way than we've ever done them in film. And that's a lost opportunity.
It's just a mess. You're thinking like, are some of these people that run the company are just that out of touch, or is it so bad there that they're just making to outsiders seemingly irrational decisions?
Yeah, I mean, how bad is it financially to have to just throw everything out? Or are these people who care far less about any sort of creative freedom or creative division or creative focus of the studio and really just want money? And in that case, I can understand why we're cutting anything that can make them extra money on the back end there. But I don't know. It's really disheartening to see.
Yeah. The only hope for me, because I'm a big advocate for physical media, is that this be like a warning sign for a lot of people that show the importance of physical media. But then the other thing I was thinking of is this only really news to sort of people that are really into film and television, and your more casual audience don't really care or not follow the news and don't really know what's happening?
My guess is your average person has no clue this is happening, and they're going to be shocked when they realize that the thing they wanted is no longer there.
Yeah, I agree on that one.
Which is why you should always buy the physical version of any media that you want, so that you always have it.
Yeah, and going back to that final space show, because the way it's looking like it's piracy will be the only way you can view it, because they're no longer, they've stopped making the physical media, and then they've pulled it off of digital stores.
Yeah, and once it's gone, and I suspect that's going to be what happens down the line to a lot of things that we love. And it's the major downside to a streaming only world where streaming services won't even put stuff out in hard copy.
Yeah, because I'm of the view of streaming services, they should be more seen as a supplement, not be what you're dependent on, especially if it's something you really like.
I agree completely.
Yeah. Because one other thing is, of course, we're talking about the takeover rumors. David Zaslav has said that that Warner Brothers is not for sale. How much are you? Yeah, but how much are we willing to? Well, we've seen this. We've seen this a lot. People say something's not going to happen and then it happens.
Yeah, I think it would be a real shock if it was suddenly up for sale again. But in the world of business, everything's for sale until it's sold. So the right offer comes along, I wouldn't be shocked to see it change hands again, or even just sections of it change hands.
Yeah, I thought with this it's more like an internal takeover. It was just done because like AT&T and Discovery are all under the same umbrella, so it's just sort of more of an internal.
Yeah, it was internal takeover restructuring.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's really a case of watch this space.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think we have covered a lot today, and to our listeners, hope you found it interesting. Please leave a comment. You know, subscribe, like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll speak again soon. Cheers. Bye.